Welcome to Travel with Sean. I'm Sean. Today we are in Berlin, Germany, taking a look at historic and famous sites. This plaza we're standing in here is called Pariser Platz. Originally, this area was only known as the square, der Platz. That was during Napoleon's reign. Napoleon conquered Berlin and he built a palace just off to my left. But when Germany conquered Paris and defeated Napoleon in the celebration of conquering Paris, they renamed the square as Paris Square. In German, they call it Pariser Platz. This structure here is called the Brandenburg Gate. It's world famous and symbolic of the city of Berlin. It was built in the 1770s to be the royal entrance through the city gate, what they call the customs gate or customs wall. It was the royal entrance into Berlin, but Berlin was not the capital city. Brandenburg was the capital city in that direction. So the royal family entered through here, followed this street, which is called Unter den Linden, or under the linden tree, straight to the royal palace. During World War II, the French embassy was vacated because the Nazis had invaded France and conquered Paris. So the Nazis turned the French embassy into a munitions plant, which made this area a valid military target. And it was heavily bombed in World War II. And the only structure not destroyed in this surrounding area was Brandenburg Gate. So what we see here is the original gate from the 1770s, although it has been repaired from damage received during World War II. Now I'm standing in the March 18 square. Originally, this was called the square in front of Brandenburg Gate because of the location. Then in the 1930s, they renamed it after the president of Germany, President von Hindenburg. So this became the von Hindenburg Square. In 1987, Ronald Reagan was visiting West Berlin, came here to the Berlin Wall in front of Brandenburg Gate, gave a speech.
Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
The current name of this square honors reunified Germany's first free elections of March 18, 1990. This building here is called the Reichstag, which is the Parliament building. Now, the Parliament is officially known now as the Bundestag, or the Federal Parliament. 1953, after the end of World War II, the building was repaired from damage during World War II, and this was now a divided Berlin, a divided Germany. This was West Berlin. And so the West German government still wanted their capital city in Berlin. So they made this their parliament building for the federal government of Germany, West Germany. In 1971, the four governing powers of Germany, the US, the UK, France, and the Soviet Union, agreed that West Berlin was part of West Germany, but West Germany could not have its government in West Berlin. So they moved their government and parliament to Bonn in western part of the country. So this building was vacated again. Move forward to October 1990, reunification of Germany. Big celebration over here in front of the building in what's called Platz der Republik. But they had a big celebration here, and then after that they celebrated the opening of Parliament. So ever since October 1990, this has been Parliament. In 1933, after the Nazis gained control of Parliament, they gave Hitler supreme authority to make laws without them, effectively rendering the body unessential, and they stopped meeting until after the 1990 reunification. The statue is of Otto von Bismarck, who is often called the Iron Chancellor. As Chancellor of Germany, he united the German Empire in 1871. The Victory Column was completed in 1871 and celebrates Germany's victory over Denmark in 1863, its victory in the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, and in the Franco-Prussian War, which ended in 1871. It originally stood in front of the Reichstag building, and its current location is known as Große Stern, or the Great Star. Museum Island, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is made up of several museums and the Berlin Cathedral. I'm standing in front of what they call the Berliner Dom, commonly known in English as the Berlin Cathedral. However, it's not a cathedral. This church is the principal church of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Germany. Its history begins in 1465 when there was an imperial palace here and they built a chapel inside the palace. Later it developed into what they call a collegiate church. That was destroyed in the 1700s to make room for a larger palace. And in the 1500s, when the elector of Brandenburg, the guy in charge of what is now Germany, when he became Lutheran, all the churches under him, under his authority, became Lutheran. So this became a Lutheran church. Well, the church that was built in the 1700s got torn down, and this church here was built in the 1890s to be the supreme church for the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Germany. And inside are the tombs of one of the electors of Brandenburg. So, the ruler of Germany before Germany existed, and Kaiser Friedrich I, one of the early kings of Germany, and his queen. They have a tomb inside. Beautiful church. Let's take a look inside. These windows above the altar represent the birth of Jesus, his crucifixion, and his resurrection. Here we have the largest pipe organ in all of Germany. The Kaiser's Lodge is where the Emperor, the Kaiser, would sit during the worship service. These are the tombs of the great elector Friedrich Wilhelm and his wife, who ruled part of what is now Germany before Germany became an empire. Museum Island is located in the middle of the Spree River, and the bridge connecting it to the rest of the city is called Schlossbrück, which means Palace Bridge. Completed in 2020, Humboldt Forum is a reconstruction of the Berlin Palace on its original location. Being on the banks of the Spree River, this is the palace for which Palace Bridge, Schlossbrück, was named. The street is called Unter den Linden, meaning under the linden trees, because there were several linden trees planted here. And the street runs all the way down to Brandenburg Gate, which historically was the royal entrance into the city. The new Royal Guardhouse was completed in 1818. It also served to honor Prussian soldiers who fought in the Napoleonic Wars. It currently represents a remembrance for all who were victims of violence and oppression during the Nazi regime. Next to it is the German History Museum, which was built in the 1690s to be a weapons arsenal. By 1875, it became the Royal Prussian Military Museum, showcasing Prussian and later German military history. Since 1952, it has housed the German History Museum. The Friedrichswürde Church was built between 1824 and 1830. Severely damaged during World War II, it was restored and converted into an art gallery for sculptures. Potsdamer Platz got its name from Potsdam Gate that was here in the 1800s with a road leading to the city of Potsdam. Peasant farmers used to sell their produce just outside the gate. Then an affluent neighborhood developed nearby, and a train station was built to serve those affluent residents, attracting more merchants who set up shops in the area. Over time, Potsdamer Platz has evolved into a commercial center, which is what it's known for today. At Potsdamer Platz, you can see some sections of the Berlin Wall and read about its history. In front of the longest remaining section of the Berlin Wall, where all these people are standing, is a display called the Topography of Terror. The Topography of Terror tells the story of Berlin from the 1920s to 1945,
beginning with the origin of the Nazis and up to the end of World War II. The Nazi Party, formerly called the National Socialist German Workers' Party, was established in 1920. Adolf Hitler, a charismatic immigrant from Austria, became the chairman of the Nazi Party in 1921. His leadership helped them solidify their identity. By 1932, the Nazis became the largest party in the Reichstag. In January 1933, Hitler was appointed as Reich Chancellor, second only to President von Hindenburg. This newspaper article shows that on March 24, 1933, the Reichstag gave Chancellor Adolf Hitler supreme power, making Parliament unnecessary. The Nazi salute had become required in nearly all circumstances by 1934. Anyone not doing this would be arrested for opposing the Nazi Party. This propaganda poster from 1934 shows Hitler helping to build a road, advertising the construction of the Autobahn, the People's Highway, as part of the Nazi jobs program, even though it had already been in the works. Another economic recovery program was the mass manufacturing of the Volkswagen, the people's car. Starting in 1938, German citizens were encouraged to pay a weekly deposit of 5 marks towards the purchase of a car costing 900 marks. After every deposit, they received a stamp on their savings card. The following year, the only existing Volkswagen manufacturing plant was converted into making military vehicles for the war effort. There was no refund of any deposits made. This brick wall behind the topography of terror was the external basement walls of the hotel, which became the headquarters of the SS in 1934. The German Chancellor's office was moved from this location in 1935. Since the building had an air raid shelter under it, Hitler made it his bunker starting in 1939, and he hired an engineer to reinforce the shelter to better withstand bombing, which helped him survive the British bombings that started in 1940. On April 20, 1945, he celebrated his 56th birthday in the bunker with his wife and the new German Chancellor. A few days later, they committed suicide. His wife and the wife of the new Chancellor took cyanide pills. Hitler and his new Chancellor shot themselves. On May 2nd, the Nazis surrendered to the Allied forces. A few years later, the Soviets entered the bunker and blew it up to make it so it was not useful anymore. In 1961, they exploded it again to absolutely destroy everything, and then they leveled it. They filled in the hole from where the bunker and the building used to be. In 1967, after they had expanded the Berlin Wall, this area we're looking at was part of the death strip. This apartment building was built in 1983, but this spot has become a tourist attraction because Hitler's bunker was here until the Soviets destroyed it. Down the street from the site of Hitler's bunker is the Holocaust Memorial, dedicated to the memory of the 6 million Jews murdered during the Holocaust. Opening on May 10, 2005, on the 60th anniversary of the end of World War II, the memorial consists of over 2,700 concrete slabs ranging in height from just a few inches to over 15 feet. Walking through the rows with narrow passageways and uneven ground, can evoke feelings of confusion, isolation, and unease, which is meant to symbolize the disorientation and suffering of the Holocaust victims. These are the ruins of Greyfriars Monastery Church. Built in the early to mid 13th century, it was one of the earliest churches in Berlin and was nearly entirely destroyed in World War II bombing. Now it stands as a memorial to Berlin's medieval history and the devastation of World War II. This bronze statue of Martin Luther was created for the 400th anniversary of his birth. Unveiled in 1895, it highlights Berlin's religious history as a major Protestant center after the Reformation, and it stands in front of one of the oldest churches in Berlin. St. Mary's Church, Marienkirche, stands in close proximity to the TV tower of Alexanderplatz. It's one of Berlin's oldest churches, being completed around 1270, and it holds great historical, architectural, and cultural significance. After the Protestant Reformation, it became one of the central Protestant churches in Berlin. The pulpit was created in 1703 with sculptures of angels and other elaborate and ornate designs. Rotes Rathaus, or Red City Hall, has continuously served as a Berlin City Hall since its completion in 1869 and is named for its striking red brick facade. Its impressive clock tower rises over 290 feet high.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for traveling along with me. As always, I appreciate your support. Until next time, tschüss, auf Wiedersehen, bye bye.